Beterbiev does it again. 19 victories, 19 knockouts, 8 championship fights.
Hey Ringsiders, this is your host, Boxing's Objective Observer, and welcome back to Ringside Stories. Feel free to subscribe, thumbs up, and hit that notification bell for the latest here on Ringside Stories. Thanks so much for your support in advance, and welcome to the channel. Artur Beterbiev made his 7th consecutive world title defense, standing at 19 wins by way of stoppage, 0 losses. Beterbiev traveled to the UK to face the explosive, hard-hitting Anthony Yarde in the Oval Arena, Wembley, in London, England.
Yeah, man, you know, I got a winner's mentality. You know, I really wanted to win, bring home the unified championship of the world, my opportunity, but it's boxing. Hardest sport in the world. Still lions in the cup. Lions in the cup!
Here are 5 takeaways from Beterbiev versus Yarde. Number 1, light heavyweight explosion.
Artur Beterbiev and Anthony Yarde just gave us an 8-round classic. Some people will call this one of the great battles we've ever seen in the UK. 3 of the world light heavyweight belts on the line.
Beterbiev versus Yarde was a fantastic fight, as Anthony Yarde had some successes, especially in the beginning of the fight, using great movement, was effective with the jab, and was able to get the unified world champion's attention and respect. Round 4 was an explosion where fire was fought with fire.
That's the place that he's had the most success with, and maybe there's concern here now for Beterbiev. Has gone back to the ropes. He answers back with a great shot of his own. Both of them unloading powerful, hurtful punches here. Oh, good left hook from Yarde.
Round 5, Anthony Yarde seemed to get the upper hand, but then Beterbiev turned his man around, going to work in the corner, with Yarde taking it well and firing back. Round 8, Beterbiev strikes Yarde with a peach of a right hand, and the shot that actually drops Yarde doesn't seem to be the hardest, yet lands maybe even a bit on the back of the head. The stoppage was sudden, but given Anthony Yarde's body language, it seemed like the correct decision by Anthony Yarde's corner. And so Artur Beterbiev versus Anthony Yarde is a 2023 Fight of the Year candidate.
I will not say surprised, because we already know, we can see in a fight that he did with the Kovalev that he was able to take a good punch, and he's genetically very gifted. He's a good athlete. You know, he generates power. Everybody know that, and especially from round 1 to round 5, 6, and he have also an historic of going a little bit like this after, and we just want to make sure that we don't do any kind of a stupid move at the beginning of the fight, take stupid punch for nothing, and make sure that we bring him in deep water of the second part of the fight. That was the plan with Anthony.
You know, every boxer is this category. You know, everyone I think can punch hard. You know, and Anthony did too. You know, if be honest. Every punch like he did, we all those punches, for all those punches we prepared. That's why I again come back because we know we expect for that punches. You know, that's why.
But you know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of these people, they get one of these, you know, like come to beat up someone, get a belt. I'm fighting these Russians that have got veins and abs and bro, it's just one of the things, and it's boxing. But again, in boxing sometimes, you know, God gives these battles, the toughest battles, to the strongest of warriors, and I'm one of the people. I'm strong in heart, in mind. You know, I've bettered my family's lives. You know, I'm still doing it, I'm still trying. We're better off than we was before. I'll be back, man.
Number 2, Yarde's heart. There's no question about Anthony Yarde's heart. One may have questions about his cardio in past fights, but not in this one, as Anthony Yarde, after an explosive start, being able to dish out a few shots of his own while taking some. During the mid-rounds, Yarde was taking a break, but started to find his rhythm and getting really into the fight going into the second half. What is questionable is Anthony Yarde's lack of experience, because although this fight against Artur Beterbiev was Anthony Yarde's best performance as a pro boxer so far, Yarde hasn't had too many big coming-of-age fights. Yarde hasn't had too many fights, period. Against Sergey Kovalev, Yarde emptied the gas tank, then got knocked out by a jab in round 11. That that was a faded Sergey Kovalev at that, who a fight later got stopped by Saul Canelo Alvarez, who we all know traveled up from the 168-pound division. On the other hand, you may say that Anthony Yarde is fighting in an era with two potential all-time greats, having faced one, that being Artur Beterbiev. If it wasn't for the current world champions, Anthony Yarde might have been a world champion by now. There are good fights for Anthony Yarde ahead. What about a domestic clash against Joshua Buatsi or former world title challenger Callum Smith? Or would Anthony Yarde fancy his chances against former WBO light heavyweight world champion Joe Smith Jr.? As it stands, Anthony Yarde has one good win on his current resume, that being his stoppage win over Lyndon Arthur, which was a domestic level fight, but a great win.
Right hand. Lyndon Arthur's down. Anthony Yarde puts him down with a chopping right hand. And he's finished. It's over. Anthony Yarde has won it.
Yarde can take a lot from this fight against Artur Beterbiev. He did step up in competition, put in a brave effort, just falling short for 3 world titles in a fight against one of the best fighters pound for pound. And so Anthony Yarde can hold his head high and certainly come again. Number 3, Father Time catching up. One of the reasons why Beterbiev versus Yarde was an exciting fight is that Beterbiev got hit more than anyone can remember, at least in recent memory, having to deal with adversity, fighting on enemy territory once again. Crowd favorite Anthony Yarde gave Beterbiev a couple of things to think about during this fight. Yarde hit Beterbiev with multiple body shots, which drove the unified champion onto the back foot. And sure, it was a headbutt that cost it. However, this fight once again proved that Artur Beterbiev can get cut. Prime example being Beterbiev's 2021 fight against former WBA interim title holder at 175, Marcus Brown. If Artur Beterbiev steps up his competition, more on that later, he may run into trouble from being able to get cut seemingly easily alone. This fight against Anthony Yarde was the toughest fight Artur Beterbiev found himself in since his 2019 unification bout against then undefeated WBC world champion Alexander Gvozdyk. Just like that fight, at the time of the stoppage, Beterbiev was down on 2 of the judges' scorecards. Beterbiev is known as a power puncher, mostly on the front foot, however, not as refined as, for example, Dmitry Bivol. Beterbiev is more than capable to fight on the back foot, and his experience allowed him to stay calm under pressure when his challenger Anthony Yarde put it on him, which goes to prove that Artur Beterbiev is more than simply just a power puncher. Number 4, undisputed. The question for Artur Beterbiev is, what's next?
In this fight, we have 4 belts. It's a really good fight, I think so. I want Bivol.
I have a goal. I want to be undisputed champion, but it not all depends on me. Hope they will listening to me, what I want.
Of course, there's the clash for undisputed with fellow countryman and undefeated WBA world light heavyweight champion Dmitry Bivol, a fight talked about for many years. Hopefully, this year, the two camps can come to an agreement and crown the first undisputed light heavyweight world champion since Roy Jones Jr. more than over 2 decades ago, and the first undisputed world champion in the 175-pound division in the 4-belt era. At the back end of Artur Beterbiev versus Anthony Yarde, does Saul Canelo Alvarez fancy his chances at the light heavyweight crown once more? Sure, Canelo was outboxed and outsmarted against Dmitry Bivol, which on the basis of that performance, many boxing fans would write Canelo off against Beterbiev, and many even argued he'd get stopped. However, Beterbiev ain't Bivol, who is tricky, defensively responsible, technically sound, tactically savvy, has a load of experience, and altogether a way different fighter than Artur Beterbiev. Besides, Beterbiev is an aging fighter, and although he's become a pressure fighter as of lately, especially during his stint in the 168-pound division, which led him to becoming the first undisputed world champion at super middleweight, Saul Canelo Alvarez is a natural counterpuncher who is a low-volume, high-quality punch type who can box and who is defensively responsible. A potential Canelo versus Beterbiev fight would be interesting from a stylistic point of view, especially in terms of what the Mexicans' tactics would be against the current unified light heavyweight world champion. Canelo ended 2022 winning the 3rd installment of the Canelo Triple G trilogy, but didn't look as dominant as in past fights. Obviously, still a huge draw in the sport of boxing, which if Canelo decides to fight in May during his yearly tradition of Cinco de Mayo weekend, may pick Artur Beterbiev as a new challenge at 175, and if Canelo would be successful against Beterbiev, the Dmitry Bivol for the undisputed light heavyweight world championship would be an absolute cracker. That is, of course, if Artur Beterbiev doesn't decide to push for undisputed against Dmitry Bivol himself first. These are just my observations, my 4 takeaways from Beterbiev versus Yarde. What are yours? Who do you think Anthony Yarde should fight next? Who do you think Artur Beterbiev should fight next? Should it be Canelo, or should he just push for undisputed against Bivol? Let us know in the comments below. If you like more content like this and you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe, give a thumbs up, and hit that notification bell, as it helps out the channel a lot. Thanks so much for your support in advance, and welcome to Ringside Stories. Now, if you've done that already, you're amazing. You already know that you are the true undisputed world champion. Till next time, Ringsiders, this is your host, Boxing's Objective Observer, with the Ringside Stories. Thanks for watching, and have a legendary day.